I spent $5 on this at Party City. It's like a pack of 8, but that doesn't make it any better if none of them work. That's really sad. Okay, I think that's the best we're gonna get. Anyways, Happy New Year, everybody. So in celebration of us finally making it to 2021, I thought it would be appropriate to make a video talking about the future. You know, the whole New Year's resolutions, the future, it kind of goes hand in hand. I know this video probably would have been more appropriate to talk about in January of 2020, but you know, COVID kind of happened, and through the whole year, that year didn't happen. We're trying again. Also, with another theme about whole New Year's resolutions in 2021 as a whole, I have a major channel update that I'm going to be talking about at the end of this video. So if that is something that you are interested in and you are invested in this channel for now or the future, I highly suggest you stick around to go watch that. Or you could just actually click on, you know, this timestamp and then watch that, and then you can come back and watch the rest of this video, because that is really important for what to expect for this year, because I have so many things planned and I'm really excited. So today we're going to be talking about why I believe that the 2020s are going to be the greatest decade of basketball of all time, until, you know, the 2030s, probably the 2040s, maybe the 2050s if we don't all die by global warming by then. But anyways, from stuff I've seen from players like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Nikola Jokic, Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, you could make a whole list. Luka Doncic, that's another one. I'm really excited to see how this game evolves over the next decade. The game we know as of right now may change drastically, and today we're going to be talking about that. Now, anyways, I'm going to stop rambling on and we're going to get into reason number one. Reason number one. Player empowerment. So back in the 2010 NBA free agency, LeBron James made the executive decision on his career to choose the best path for him going forward, going against the grain on the concept that a player should be loyal to the team that gave him the opportunity to prove himself, and instead showing that loyalty to a franchise is only earned, not given. And even at that, if there are greener pastures for a player, then he should probably take it. This was evident in Kevin Durant's decision in 2016 to go sign with the Warriors. The Thunder hadn't proved why they deserved KD, and he saw the best opportunity to win a championship with Golden State. So the NBA made a couple of ways to combat the power dynamic of the league, shifting to the possession of just one or two teams. Now the first way was the Supermax contract, of which we'll get more into detail when we get into the financial reasons. And the second is by changing the lottery odds. Now what the latter of that has caused is de-incentivizing teams to tank for multiple years at a time to acquire good years and then just have their cornerstone leave anyways. Now teams know that the draft is something that they probably shouldn't rely on, and instead have decided that they shouldn't be wasting any time trying to compete. For example, the Denver Nuggets. They realized that Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray were the real deal, so they made sure to surround those two with quality talent like Paul Millsap, Gary Harris, Will Barton, and so on. Lo and behold, they've already been to the Western Conference Finals, and their three best players are 25 or younger. Going on with this point, the Atlanta Hawks. It's Trae Young's third year in the league, and they realize there's absolutely no reason to be losing anymore. So they spent this past offseason getting good talent around Trae, and I honestly think they're playoff bound this year. I like to compare it to this. So when you take something like carbon and you put it under like immense pressure, the result of that is you get diamonds, and that's been pretty irrelevant when it comes to players like Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo spending every year in their career thus far making important playoff runs. It sculpts them, it molds them into becoming elite talent. Now going back to player empowerment, I'm not sure we're gonna see another era this decade of just a couple teams holding the power density of the league and it just ends up like Golden State versus Cleveland every year. I don't think that's going to happen again. Combining the fact that teams aren't wasting any time being good right away to prove to their young stars they're serious about them, and the fact that these teams know that these players are on a schedule to win, and if they don't, they could just go somewhere else, I think that's going to distribute the power complex of the league to a lot more teams in the league. That's going to make for some compelling storylines in overall competitive basketball when anything can happen. One of which I can specifically point out to is the fact that at some point this decade, Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, and Devin Booker are probably going to team up sometime this decade. This isn't even speculative because during a 2019 photo shoot that D'Lo, Cat, and Booker did together, D'Angelo Russell said this: "We got to do this again, we're all on the same team. Nah, don't cut the film. Y'all got it on footage. when we're all on the same team. I ain't gonna tell you which team because I don't know. We're gonna do this again. Now, obviously, anything could happen, including all three of those guys just staying on the teams they're currently on. But it's definitely possible that at the end of Booker's contract, he's just tempted by the allure of that big three. So the Timberwolves probably swap out Anthony Edwards for him. I'm not sure I'd call the three of those players a super team due to the lack of the defensive ability. But hey, I mean, players deciding their own destinies and forcing their own teams to not mess around for the first 7 years of their career is only going to help the success of the league. Reason number 2, the financial side. So the NBA has a lot of avenues to make more money and by proxy, the regular person making money. The first thing is legalizing sports betting and even sanctioning it. Adam Silver in a 2014 op-ed said that he would prefer to do that as opposed to keeping it illegal. In the years followed, betting became more legalized from state to state, and the NBA's plan as a whole going into the 2020s is to allow a mobile interface where fans can make bets while watching the game. This will make it much easier for people to participate, and yeah, some people are probably going to go bankrupt, but the league legalizing it and providing an easier interface to participate in it is gonna result in a higher salary cap and more flexibility on what moves an NBA roster can make. Now, another thing that plays into this is the decreasing relevance of the NCAA. Now, for decades, the NCAA has not allowed players to make a dime off their own namesake, while in a hypocritical fashion, the NCAA themselves have made billions off of them. Well, these young men, as well as the NBA themselves, have basically said, yeah, we don't like that. This has led to players like LaMelo Ball playing overseas and for the NBA creating a special G League team filled with the nation's top prospects that don't want to spend a year in the NCAA, but instead facing off against grown men while being paid for it. This is going to make the G League a more marketable product and a better alternative for prospects in the future. All of this and any future innovation that makes it easier for both the players and the fans to enjoy NBA games is going to directly benefit the success of the league and to basically increase the value of reason number 1. Reason number 3, the evolution of the meta. Yes, I just described the modern style of play as a meta. Am I wrong? No. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, for this purpose, let's fast forward 4.5 years from now to the 2025 NBA draft. So we're going to be talking about 18 and 19-year-olds being drafted not too long from now. But to really contextualize how much things are going to change, let me bring up this point. So, the year 2025 is 10 years past the Warriors' first championship of their dynasty. The Warriors' first championship of that dynasty was in 2015. Steph Curry's first MVP was in 2015. That means a lot of these kids being drafted 4 or 5 years from now or were like 7, 8, and 9 years old when Steph Curry won his first ring. Now, this is how old people like Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, and even myself were when they were watching Kobe play. Because of that, I think we'll see a lot of players take after him and start pulling it from like 35 feet plus, and generally just making threes a staple of their game. I mean, look at Trae Young. Here's a player that's already doing that. And as a side point, I'm honestly predicting that by the end of this decade, the NBA is going to implement a 4-point line. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into that topic because we're actually going to be talking about that next week, so look forward to that. So, Stephen Curry, as of right now, I don't think this is up for much debate, is the greatest shooter of all time. But I don't think that's going to be the case by 2030. Now, the other side of the coin is with the evolution of the big man. Now, going back to Golden State again, when they won a championship with their pace and space small ball rotation, they showed that the traditional big man wasn't really all that necessary, and they were facing extinction. The big man position is going to die. We're going to have positionless basketball. But what does a species do when it faces extinction? They either die off or they evolve. Now we have big men that can stretch the floor and or play make at an elite level. For example, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo, Kat, Domantas Sabonis. And I expect that going into the future that NBA teams are going to expect that big men take on these types of roles when they enter the league. Which, side note, it really does make me wonder. Like, this entire concept of a big man having to stretch the floor or just be an elite playmaker. What if this kind of expectation was like thrusted on big men back in the late 90s and early 2000s? How much better would KG have been? I'm actually asking that. Like, comment down below. If KG played in today's era, how much better would he have been? Reason number 4, for the fans. And for today's final reason as to why the 2020s are going to be the greatest decade of basketball we've seen thus far, it's going to be because of the accessibility of the average fan to voice their opinion and make content about their favorite sport. Now, to contextualize this, take Kenny from King of the Fourth Quarter for instance. He was just a guy that talked about basketball on YouTube. It was just a regular guy, and now he's hosting a podcast with House of Highlights. Another person, Dom2K, has had, Kings rookie Tyrese Halliburton on his streams before. There are literal current and future NBA players that watch NBA YouTube content. So by the end of the decade, I fully expect there to be a lot more career opportunities for true fans of basketball to work with the NBA somehow, if not just on YouTube. The integration is going to be insane.